Hello and welcome to another Victoria 3 video. Yesterday there was a video put up on the Paradox YouTube channel called the Monthly Update number 1, where some of the devs and the community manager went over some of the things that we've learned already in the dev diaries that I've already been covering. As far as I can tell, there wasn't too much new information shared in the actual talking part. There was some confirmation of things that were kind of a little bit obfuscated, like you can put embargoes on certain goods, as well as making sure that your people want them more, or you can subsidize them, let's say. So that was quite nice. I was around about 3 minutes into the video, but I do recommend you go and watch it because it's presented very nicely. But what I'm not going to do is talk about really what we've just seen in that. What I'm going to do is talk about this. These are all of the images that were shown in this video. It's 13 minutes long. They showed a fair few pictures. I think I got 32 downloaded. So I'm just going to go over them, see if we can glean some information from them, and talk about what we can see, because there is some new stuff in here and some confirmation of things and some just, new information. So first off, we have this farm, I guess, in New York. We can see some vaguely decent information about it. You can see it's got its inputs, it's got its outputs, is this maybe seeds, plant stuff? But either way, there is an input for farms, which is kind of interesting. I wasn't really aware of that. Obviously, there's also tools, make wheat, make fruit, and potentially salt. Is that? I'm not sure. This might actually be fertilizer, come to think of it, because fertilizer was in Victoria 2, so that could be what we are looking at. These green numbers means there are 2 options available for your production methods. So this will be things for a farm. It'll be what kind of grain that you're going to be growing. There'll be things like who owns it. This, I believe, means... Oh no, this one is who owns it. But yeah, there's some new information here, but not much there that we haven't seen already. Moving on, we have this here, iron mine in Missouri. You can see that it's not using explosives, it's not automated at all, it's got some railways or some infrastructure in the province, so it's doing a little bit better there. I'm not sure what this one is, but yeah, again, it's a production method. The ownership here, you can see it's privately owned, you can see all the other different types of ownership. It uses tools, it uses coal, and if I remember rightly, this is transportation, like railway tickets. I think it's just called transportation, but it requires that as well, I guess, to transport the coal on the railways. Maybe if you weren't using railways to transport your coal, it wouldn't take this. Who knows? I'd imagine if you were using some explosives, obviously explosives would be one of your expenses here. Lovely stuff. Again, not much that we're seeing there that's absolutely new, but it's nice to have a look through these images as well, Next up, we have the same image again, but it's seeing what kind of automation, either using road carts or rail transportation. Rail transportation is meaning that you have an extra expense, and it's nice to see that in this UI itself, it's telling you what exactly is going to be added as an expense. So that's nice to see. Again, the same one, we're looking at different mining methods. We have an atmospheric engine pump here. We could have been using just picks and shovels. Using the engine pump means that we need to use coal, and there is 2 new pop types. The bottom row here is pop types. These ones here are engineers. It's using, I think, an old style version of like calipers, and then this spanner, I think Americans call it a wrench, is for machinists, and obviously the spade there is, or shovel if you like, is a labourer. So having extra, using different mining equipment is meaning you got more expenses and you're having to hire different pop types to work in it. So honestly, this part of the game that we've been shown, production methods, is like my favorite thing. I absolutely am adoring the the production methods. I think it's amazing. One building being able to do multiple things it's entirely up my alley. I'm in love with it. I think it's great. And then we have different things like steam automation. If we were to use steam automation, going into the steam donkey, it would require locomotives and machinists. I guess extra machinists if we're already getting machinists here. But again, just being able to upgrade your buildings and downgrade them again, I guess, just by having them do different things, I'm entirely down for. Finally, we have here a steel mill, or rather, we have steel. And what is steel used for? It can be produced by a steel mill, and only a steel mill. The number being, I believe, the amount of steel mills you have in your country. As this is the United States of America, yeah, you can imagine there's quite a few of them. The production methods producing steel in the United States, there are 3 steel mills using blister steel processes. Not currently active is the other types, so we've got Bessemer process, open hearth process, electric arc, water tube, rotary valve, all different ways of making steel. Again, these are just production methods, which I adore. Each one of these will be making the same thing. They'll still be making steel, but they'll be using different pop types, different pop amounts, making different amounts of profit, different amounts of expenses. So maybe some will use coal, some will use electricity, some will use something else. I'm so I can't reiterate enough how down for this I actually am. I think it's amazing. Back to the steel mill in Missouri. I actually don't see anything new here. I think this is pretty much the same thing again. Although we're missing one of the expenses that we had before. No tickets, because we're no longer using the railways. Yep, that's right. Not all, like say, during this part of the video when they're talking about steel, like they're going back and forth and showing off the different methods of making steel. So it makes sense that there's some crossover and some redundancy, but that's fine. Now we have tools in the Swedish market. You can see it is slightly more expensive than the baseline price, and that is going to be communicated to you by these coins. The more coins in a more valuable type, so gold coins, means it's a lot more expensive. Small amounts of copper coins mean it's a lot less expensive. Apparently these are literally just percentages with a graphic. So this could literally be like 61%. And then if you get to 75%, then it may be like a single gold coin, something like that. Apparently it's going to be very easy to mod that to be a to be literally a percentage, which I think I would prefer. Although, if you play it a lot, then maybe you'll be able to see better at a glance what this is representing. But I kind of feel like I would prefer the percentage. We can also see here, you can show the potentials on the map. So showing the potential of where you can find tools or where they're being made on the map is amazing. I'm not really excited for that for tools specifically, but if you maybe were looking for coal or oil or something like that, showing the potential for oil, showing the production of coal and oil, showing the consumption of it as a heat map, as a map mode, that's so amazing. That is like, technically, you could think that is like upwards of like 50 map modes then, because if each good, which is 50 goods, has a heat map for each of these. That's 150 map modes right there. It's just yeah, I love heat maps. They're great. You can see how many you're selling, how many are being bought in your market, which is all very nice. This is obviously just showing the tools in the Swedish market. It's not showing them worldwide. We can now see glass, I believe. Yes, glass in the British market. It is produced by Glassworks using the production methods of ceramics and bone china. It can be used by Pops of Wealth, levels 15 to 99 as part of luxury items needs category. So needs, not needs, but like in Victoria 2 you had Pops having needs, and it seems to be that they've somewhat abstracted, like the Pops still have needs, but they've kind of given you a number value for how much of those needs they're getting and how wealthy they are, between 1 and 99, I guess. With a, I don't want to put a number on what is, like, you know, well off or whatever. But I imagine you're not going to have too many pops getting above, like, 20. Only, like, the ultra-capitalists getting maybe, like, 99, you know? I imagine at the end of the game, you're probably going to have some very, very, very wealthy ultra-capitalists. But yeah, it's nice to have this, because looking at the pie chart in Victoria 2 for having, you know, how many of your pops are getting their needs is not very. I'm not a fan. So, you know, having this is quite nice. But yeah, there's the glassworks. I believe there is another production method for glass that we saw in a Twitter teaser, which showed that there was, like, plastics were a new type of glass, I guess. There was an early form of plastics that were being manufactured in around, like, 1907 or something, that were, you know, being used in this way for, like, a replacement for glass, but it didn't really kick off, like, not mass-produced plastics until, like, the 50s or 60s or something like that. Alright, moving on. We have the British market and all of the goods within it. Obviously, we've got a scroll bar, so this isn't all of the goods. But just looking at it, we've got fish, cloth, grain, lumber. I think that's probably simple clothes, not luxury clothes. We've got fruit. The bells, I believe, is, like, bureaucracy. We've got groceries, we've got meat, simple furniture, and glass. Again, you can see here, the price of grain is well below average. The price of these clothes is well above average. Actually, I'm gonna say that's actually luxury clothes, not the other. But you see, like, these are £10 per amount. I'm not sure, but that is well below the market price. The fruit is £45 per, and it's well above market price. I imagine because you're in Britain, fruit is not too terribly easy to come by, other than apples. You're not going to get your exotic fruits, after all. There's too much rain for that. But yeah, it would be nice to have this as a percentage, I think. Also, the ability to sort it via the various types of goods. So, luxury goods, military goods, industrial goods, and basic goods is what I believe these are. I'm just going by memory on this one, though. So that's quite nice. Moving on, we're going into the British market with the grain. This is clearly in a different game to the one that the previous picture was on, because this is only slightly cheaper rather than incredibly much cheaper as we had here. Like, this is way, way cheaper than market value. You can see the potentials on the map, same as we saw before. You can see how much you're selling, how much you're buying, all good stuff. And the market price going around. This is kind of interesting, because obviously this is when the game starts. On the 1st of January 1836. So there's an immediate crash of the economy. I imagine this is going to be everywhere in the game. But, you know, in Vicky 2, the game took a month to figure out its values, right? You generally didn't take any of your economy to heart. You didn't take it seriously until a monthly tick had passed. This is kind of the same, all right, because obviously every day is split up into 4, so the roughly similar to a monthly tick would be a weekly tick, which would be 31 ticks, say, for Victoria 2. In Victoria 3, 28 ticks for 3 weeks. This looks like 1 week. Obviously, 6th of January, it may be looking at, you know, it's ticking over from 6th of January to the 7th of January, and maybe that's when the tick is happening, and it's showing 6 there. But I feel like this is the same thing happening here, that we're having the week tick sorting out all of the economy. That's just a feeling I'm getting. But yeah, moving on. We have plantations and different types of plantations. So again, this is just all down to production methods. we have the plantation building. And what can we do in the plantation building? Well, we can do cotton, we can do tea, we can do tobacco, bananas, coffee, dyes, opium, and rubber, all confirmed goods, which is, you know, I'm entirely down for it. I'm entirely down for it. That is so nice. Although I imagine bananas probably isn't a good. It'd probably form just the fruit good, is what I'm thinking. Although I'm kind of second guessing myself on that one. But anyway, these are the different plantations that we've got. Very nice. Opium, of course, being massively important to this time period. It's not like there was a couple of wars with China over it and all that, you know. We have in Austria the something, but the workforce of a certain building in Austria. We've got aristocrats, clergymen, farmers, and labourers working there. Obviously, this is the workforce. I'm not sure what this is working at, but you can see the different values for wealth. If you have 30 wealth, you are affluent. If you have 20, you are secure. If you have 12, you are impoverished. And if you have 7, you are struggling. Obviously, 8 might also be struggling. It might be between 0 and 5. You may be absolutely destitute. 5 to 10 struggling, 10 to 20 impoverished, 20 to 30 secure, 30 to 40 affluent, etc., etc. But you can see that there's different values here of that, which is, you know, it's nice to learn those. Next up, we have in Svealand an urban centre. I recognise this. I think we've already seen this picture in the one of the previous dev diaries, but it's nice to go over it again. You can see the different production methods in the urban centre. Of course, remember that you get an urban centre for every 100 urbanisation in a state, and in Svealand we've got 2 of them, which is, you know, means there's at least 200 urbanisation. Yeah, perfect, lovely stuff. Moving on. Again, looking at the different buildings within a state, we've got the urban centre, we've got resource buildings, and we've got some agricultural buildings. We've got 26 unused arable land, which means that we've got 26 subsistence farms. We're only using 2 of those available plots of land, firstly to grow, I guess, cattle, and secondly to grow grain. Resources here, you know, fish, you got lumber, you got iron, and then we're also making some furniture, which is very... I mean, if this is Svealand, which it might be, I don't know. If it is Svealand, then it makes sense, because this would be the earliest IKEA in the world. I don't know. But yeah, I think we've already seen this picture as well in a previous dev diary. Again, Svealand. Again, this is another one that we've seen in the previous dev diary. This is the bureaucracy building. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's a bureaucracy building. It's got expenses. It's got its own production methods. It produces bureaucracy. It uses paper to create bureaucracy, and then your bureaucracy is added to your capacities. Employs 20,000 people. It doesn't look like there's any extra production method here, but there's 2 options for this one. So it'd be nice to know what those options are. We don't know those yet. All right, Gotaland, we have, I believe this is subsistence buildings. Yes, it is. Subsistence buildings, there is 26 of them in Gotaland. And yeah, you don't want them. You want to upgrade your subsistence areas into proper factories or proper buildings. Although those are going to, you know, cost you a bit of money to set up. But yes, very nice. Again, moving on. In Ile-de-France, we can see the different buildings that we have. Urban centres, government administration, which is the building that I forgot the name of. We have paper mills, arts academy, which is, I think, not been discussed before. I don't think we've learned about the arts academy. We've got the university, we've got the textile mill, tooling workshop, furniture manufactories, glassworks, and we've got a trade centre, which is also something we have not learned of yet. And I believe this is interesting as well. So, is the textile mill giving us £10 per day, perhaps? These giving us £3 per day, something like that. And then, if that is the case, what is the urban centre giving us? And what is this? Is this maybe authority? I don't know. This is something new, I believe. If it isn't new, and it is just me having a terrible memory, please do let me know in the comment section below. For agriculture, in Ile-de-France, we have 9 wheat farms, 24 subsistence farms, And then in the development area, we can see we've got a barracks, we've got a railway. Maybe this means it's state-owned, perhaps? State-owned university, state-owned arts academy, it potentially could be. Potentially could be. I don't know, though. But it looks like you've got a few different ways of sorting this information. And it looks like there's also... Could you potentially use this button here to build more? Is this like an area that you can use macro builders in? Say, oh, I'm looking at Ile-de-France and everything I've got in it. Maybe I'll click here to build more stuff. It's entirely possible. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Back to the Swedish market, we're looking at an overview of it. We can see all of the different buildings we have. Again, furniture factories, the different resource buildings, the different, what did they call them? Development buildings. Your ports, your railways, I think that was a university, your arable land, standard of living, the average, I imagine this is, of everyone, that potentially. How many are struggling, middling, secure, etc. Actually, maybe when you get to 8, you're struggling. When you get to 16, you're middling. When you get to 23, you're secure. I don't know. I don't know what these are. But, you know, see the growth, how much it's, how many people it's got in it. Yeah, it's just showing the UI. Very nice. On to buildings in the USA. Another way of looking at these. We've got, 21 food industries, and we can open this out if we wanted to, using this arrow to change each individual food industry building, or you can change them all at the same time with, clicking these buttons here, which is, a really nice way of doing it. You've got food industries, textile mills, furniture manufactories, glassworks, tooling workshops, paper mills, steel mills, shipyards, and urban centers. And this is the entirety of the United States of America, so 16 urban centers in 1836. Does that ring bells for people? Is that something reasonable? I don't know. I don't know much about USA in this period, so let me know. Also, it looks like someone's doing a bit of... Yeah, let's move on. We've seen this image before. It was in, I believe, the first dev diary, I believe. And it's just showing an aristocratic Turkish pop in Diyarbakir. We can see what interest group he's a part of, how many population there are of that pop, etc, etc. So we've seen this one before. It was one of the earliest ones we've seen, but the next one is new, and it is not new. It's actually not new at all. This is another one that we've seen before. It's just showing a French Catholic clergyman. I think it's the next one that's new. Yes. So when we saw these previous 2 images, we were also... There was not a backlash, but there was a question raised whether we would ever see female pops, right? Female graphics of pops. Because, obviously, dude's man, mustache kind of gives it away in this regard. So, this image here is to show that, yes, there will be female portraits added to the game, which, I mean, it kind of makes sense because... Well, the UK, very shortly after the start of the game, is going to get Queen Victoria as its leader, and we know already that leaders' portraits are in the game. I think we'll see one in a few short slides from now. But yeah, now we can see that we can look at the Maghrebi Sunni labourers, and there is indeed a woman. They are starving, and honestly, looking at these cheekbones, the sallow kind of thing going on, I can see that. I can see that they're starving. You can definitely tell that they are taking on the portrait system from CK3, which makes absolute sense. Not a problem with that. They have a certain style to them, don't they? One thing that was complained about quite a bit is the size of the heads in relation to the body. They are definitely scaled up, but I have a feeling that has changed. I have a feeling that these heads have been scaled down somewhat, which, you know what, it's going to make a lot of people very happy because there was a lot of backlash around the sheer scale of the heads in relation to the body. This is not a realistic scale. This seems way more in line with, natural proportions, which I'm totally down for. Lovely stuff. Moving on to the population tab, where we can see in whatever country this is, there's no notice of that, how many of each population you have. So we know that we've got 22 million peasants, giving this amount of political strength, 6.43 million. It looks like you can actually directly talk to them? No, surely not. Maybe that is just showing what kind... Yeah, this is the rural... the rural, what's called, political party, not party. There's this word. I'm completely blanking on the word. Interest group. This is rural interest group. This, I don't know what this is. This is brand new, but we've got the religious interest group, the military interest group. Yeah, no, this is very interesting. This is very interesting. I've not seen this before. If anyone knows what this is, then please do let me know. But yeah, you can see the population of your entire country and the breakdown of those pops. And you also can see, for the first time, I believe, the confirmation that clerks are back in the game, and they've got lovely spectacles as their graphic for them. Lovely stuff. Moving on, we have graphs. We have pie charts. I apologize, yes. Okay, so here is when I become controversial, because I don't like pie charts. I think it's fairly... I mean, people know that I don't like pie charts. Also, that was a moth. People know that I don't like pie charts. I'm fairly outspoken about this dislike of pie charts. I like that they have given them a bit of flair. You know, that's nice. But let's be perfectly real here. These are not here to give you information. They're not. They're just simply not. This pie chart gives you no information other than the blue unit, which you can see are peasants, is way bigger than everyone else. What percentage are the peasants here? I don't know. Is that'd be 50%? Is that maybe 60-ish%? I don't know. I don't know, because pie charts are useless at that kind of information. They just are. They're just absolutely useless. What information can you actually glean from it? You just can't. You just absolutely can't. If this is the same as here, we can see that 22 million out of 34 million. But there's no way of knowing this. There's no way of actually telling any information there at all. And the fact that it stops at the third most pop. What about this black pop here, or this blue one, or this white one? What about these? Personally, I am of the opinion that these graphs are here for two reasons. One, because people expect them because pie charts were in Victoria 2. Funny thing is, the pie charts in Victoria 2 were not for information either. No one used them to gather information. They used the numbers beside them, and I think that is going to be the same case here. Population, yeah, they look nice, but if you want to know how many of a population unit you have, you're going to be looking at these numbers here. You're not going to look at this graph. It's here to look pretty. And it takes up an awful lot of space doing it. Population 1 is bad. Political strength, I can see an argument for this one, right? Because you're not going to care as much about a lot of different political strengths, right? You're going to care about the big ones. You're only going to care about the big ones. So peasants, aristocrats, and laborers. I can make an argument maybe that the yellow and the green also kind of matter, but these, I don't care about the small ones. It doesn't, it's irrelevant. Their political strength is so small that it doesn't matter. But these, knowing that the peasants and the aristocrats together, if they're united in a goal, they have more than half, I'd say that's pretty valuable information. I'd say the fact that none of these graphs seem... no, the graphs do seem to be starting at a certain point, and that is at the 90-degree angle, and then maybe working backwards. Yeah, the 90-degree angle here, and then working backwards. So, from biggest to smallest? Yeah, it does seem to be that case. Okay, culture... It just means nothing. It just means nothing. Yeah, no, it doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. And you know what would be better, in my opinion? It wouldn't look as good. I'll absolutely freely admit it does not look nearly as good. just give me a list in 3 columns. Maybe 4 columns. 4 columns. The first column will just be the colour. No, actually, you don't need a colour. Fuck the colour. 3 columns. The name of the pop. The name of the culture, sorry. The amount, number-wise, 6.86 million. And then the percentage of total. Yeah? That, useful information. You could fit, if that's 3, you could fit... Maybe probably 10. You can probably fit 10 in here. And you could also make the font a little bit smaller. But, 10 seems like a reasonable number. I mean, you can't even see... There's 4 religions here. There is Catholic, Orthodox, I'm assuming Protestant, and I'm assuming Sunni. There are 4 religions here, and you can't see them all. I just cannot see this as useful. You know what? Pie charts are ubiquitous too, Vicky too. I mean, they have to be there for it to be a solid sequel or an actual sequel at all, I guess. I just have a hatred of pie charts, and these are just more useless pie charts. They take up space and do nothing. So let's move on, because I'm gonna blow a gasket, and yeah, let's move on. This is good. This is a bit more like what I want, but I can freely admit it doesn't look nearly as good. So we're looking at the different population in Austria. I guess Austria was what we were looking at all along. We can see all the different pop types: labourers, shopkeepers, officers, academics, bureaucrats, clerks, servicemen, which is a new, or I guess a renamed. They used to be called soldiers. There were also officers. Actually, officers still there, so yeah, soldiers just been renamed to servicemen. You know what? I mean, I'm entirely fine with it. I'm entirely fine with them being called servicemen. But I will point out that soldier is gender neutral. Servicemen is not. And the general trend of the world right now is to make all job titles be gender neutral. I know in this period there was probably like 0.00000000001% of service peoples were women, but at the same time, it's just interesting to note that they've gone with a non-gender neutral term when the gender neutral term was already being used and was fine. No one was complaining. It's just interesting. But we also have the labourers, capitalists, more shopkeepers, and machinists. And the reason that they're split up into clerks of these 3 types is because they're all working in different areas, which is, it makes sense to split them up. If you want, you can sort them by types. All the clerks are together, all the servicemen together, all the labourers together. Sort them by what they work at, sort them by their culture, their religion, sort them by whatever this is. I don't know what this is yet. I don't think we've been told. Sort them by how many of them there are. So there are only 14 unemployed labourers of the Jewish religion, North Italian Jewish. Maybe this is how accepted they are as a population. That could be. That boot is making me think that is the case. They are the only one that is not North Italian Catholic. So that would kind of... Yeah, they're disenfranchised, so they're not allowed to vote, maybe because of their religion. That could be the case. This might just be an oppression bar, which is interesting to say the least. Right and left, maybe looks like a flame. Maybe how mad they are. Who knows? Their literacy, don't know. Couldn't tell you what that is. What interest group there are in. Their wealth. So you can see their standard of living. I don't think this is necessary if we have it here. This is their standard of living. It's 5, 20, 20. Like, these are all identical. So having their standard of living there with the number, I would say is perfectly reasonable, just on its own. Yeah, cool. Okay, moving on. We have this, again, it's a bureaucracy. We've seen this before. One of the early dev diaries. But again, like I say, they're showing some of the same images again. That's not a problem. Yeah, moving on. For authority, again, showing the same images we've seen before. I don't really have much to say on the capacities. I don't know. I think bureaucracy is fine. I've got no issues really with bureaucracy. Authority is mostly fine. I think one of the big things I think is just all of these numbers seem very rounded, and that's not a good thing. To reiterate a point that I've made before, Mount Everest, when they measured what the height was, I can't remember what the height is, but say it was 11,000 meters tall, it was like exactly on the number 11,000 meters. It might be 10,000, might be 12,000. I don't actually know, but it was on the dot to the 1,000th meter is what they measured. So when they reported their measurement, they said it was 11,002, because otherwise people wouldn't believe them. And that is the same feeling I'm getting here. The capacities here they're too rounded numbers, so they don't feel organic. They feel fake. And that is, it's entirely cosmetic. It's entirely, like, it might be organically generated. But the feeling is important, and the feeling is that it isn't organic. And that is especially true when it comes to, I guess, we're looking at this one, bureaucracy. When we were looking at the bureaucracy number, it showed... what was it? It showed 20,000 bureaucrats or employed in the bureaucracy building. It was producing exactly 150 influence, or whatever it ended up being, authority perhaps, I can't remember. But it just didn't feel organic, even though I guess it was. Who knows? Like, this is better because, you know, you're producing 156 bureaucracy. That's not a round number. That feels reasonable. And it's an entirely unreasonable request, but having non-rounded numbers, it's just better. It's just honestly better. So yeah, this is the government administration in Irakajemi, which is in Persia. Yeah, it's mostly stuff we've already seen, but I guess it's in a new place. And then we have Nikolai Romanov, the Tsar of Russia, the Russian Empire. He's got his own trait, he's traditionalist, he's got his own faith. He has a popularity, which is interesting. It's not something we've seen before. So it looks like maybe rulers will need to keep their popularity high, or maybe they will incur a coup, incur rebellions, that kind of thing. Which I'm entirely down for. That's kind of cool. I like it. And then we're back to the top with New York. There is one more thing that I want to show you that I have forgotten to open up, so I will get it just real quick. Be right back. Alright, here we go. This is the last thing that I want to show you. So there was a Reddit thread some time ago asking whether the flags waved, because they were looking at the difference between the Ottoman flag and the French flag that was shown. And now we have images of the same place and the same flag, this Ottoman image here. And I want you to have a look at the flag itself. Yes, confirmed, the flags do have some kind of waving going on. It looks like it's going to be very minor, it's going to be very subtle, but the flags are going to wave, which, you know what? I'm down for. There's another thing on this image, which I'm not actually kind of a fan of, and that is this up here. The clock that we're looking at to show the speed at which you have the game. This clock here, I'm not a fan of. I don't think this looks good at all. So I hope this is something that used to be there and then they decided against it. That is what my hope is. I don't know if it is true or not, but I kind of hope so, because it kind of looks kind of ugly, not gonna lie. But yeah, that was just what I wanted to show you, is that the flags do move. That is now kind of confirmed at this point. It's going to be like a very subtle waving. I think that's kind of a nice touch. But anyway, that is all I have for you today. We've seen the, I think, 32 images that were shown in the dev diary. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section below. It's been a relatively long video, but there was a lot to talk about. It may have been only like a 13-minute long video that was shown, but you know, they showed more than 13 minutes worth of things to talk about, so it's totally fine. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. It has been a pleasure, as always, to make these videos for you. If you would like to keep up to date with all Victoria 3 news and updates, please click the subscribe button, click the like button, and follow along for my journey with, you know, experiencing Victoria 3's dev diaries and the development and all of that kind of good stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.